Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa salatu wa salamu ala Muhammad wa ahla baytihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum. In the book Greater Sins, last time we spoke of excessive sins destroy the faith. And we talked about how the sins blacken the heart. They can encompass the whole heart if we persist in sins over and over again, where we end up getting rust on our hearts. And when that happens, we can become immune to counsel. People can tell us things, and we say, "Oh, we don't even care. We don't even want to hear about it," or they're not concerned with anything anymore. They become numb to advice. And, I've heard some people like this. They say, "Oh, I go to Juma, I go to Majalis, I don't feel anything. I don't, I don't feel anything inside my heart." And a lot of these times, it's something to do with us. And then other times you could see someone, for example, they just mention the name of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and they start to cry right away because everything is coming to their mind at that moment. And then I've met other people who took pride. I don't know why, but they took pride. So I've never cried in a majlis. I don't know why. This is something the person felt proud of. But a lot of these things, they come from our hearts being covered with the sins, and it becomes like a rust. And we said that we should be fearful of the past sins that we have, and that we should seek forgiveness of our sins, even the ones we don't realize that we've done. Maybe we've done something and we didn't even realize. Maybe we've hurt someone and we didn't realize we hurt someone. We should seek forgiveness for these sins as well. We should sit and think about, who have we harmed? Have we done something to upset someone else? Whether it's our spouse, our parents, our children, our neighbors, our friends, community members. Think about these things and ask Allah for forgiveness for these things. And if you know someone that you've wronged, you need to go seek forgiveness from them too. As we said, we had Haqq Allah and Haqq Nas. Haqq Allah was something between you and Allah, such as fasting and prayer and other things. But some things we have are Haqq Nas, between you and people. Like if you took something from someone, or you wronged someone, you treated your spouse bad, for example, you need to make things right with them and ask Allah for forgiveness. We cannot ask Allah for forgiveness every day, but we're still treating people bad. This is counterproductive. It doesn't make sense that if we're treating people bad, but every day we come and say, "Yo, Allah, forgive me," and then we go and do the same thing over again, keep hitting someone, for example, or oppressing someone, or taking their belongings. But then we go astaghfirullah, and then we go get in our stolen car that we have. We have to give that car back. We said that we will get intercession on Day of Judgment from Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, inshallah. But some things disqualify the person from intercession. One example we gave was making light of salat. That it was asked of the people of hellfire why they were there, and they said that they did not give any importance to the salat. Then we reached to the point in the book, the section called Shia and Muhib. So it's going to talk about these two terms. He said the traditions regarding this subject are based on two important points. The first is concerned with Shia, and the second is Muhib, or an admirer of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, whereas the first one, Shia, is a follower of Ahlul Bayt. The position and status of those Shias who have achieved excellence in the field of knowledge and good deeds is definitely higher, Even so, such people did not consider themselves fit to be called Shias of Ahlul Bayt. Take the example of Muhammad ibn Muslim al-Thaqafi. He was companion of Imam Bakr alayhi salam, also Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. And both the Imams have recommended him to the Shias for solving their fiqh problems and religious problems. And they're mentioned in the books of Rijal as good narrators. So one time, Muhammad ibn Muslim and another companion, they went to see this judge. This judge glared at them, and he called them. He said, "Oh, these two are Ja'fari and Fatimi," meaning that they are Shias of Ahlul Bayt. He didn't like Shias. So he called them Ja'fari. And when they heard this, they started crying, these two people. So the judge asked him, "Why are you crying?" And he said, "Oh, you associated us with such a lofty personality as Imam Sadiq alayhi salam. People like us, we are lacking in piety and abstinence to be compared with such a great person." So he said, "What does the dust have to be, compared with this great creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?" And they asked the judge to not use that title for them because they didn't deserve that title. So these were great companions, and they even felt that they should not have the title Shia ascribed to them. So a lot of people today's time, we say, "Oh yeah, we are Shia," but when we look at what a Shia really is, we are far from Shia. Maybe we could be muhib, one who admires Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. But true Shias are people, when we look in history, like Ammar, Abu Dhar, Salman, these type of individuals, and many more. Hujr ibn Adi, for example, Muslim ibn Aqil, these type of individuals, we should strive to be like them and learn how they became in such high position with Ahlul Bayt. The author says, yes, we can give the title of Shia to the individual who follows the Imams in all aspects of character and speech. Thus, Bab al-Hawa'ij, Imam Qadim alayhi salam says, our Shias are only those who follow us, walk in our footsteps, and imitate our actions. So a true meaning of a Shia, in the meaning of the word, the ma'na, it would be that those people who follow Ahlul Bayt, they follow their footsteps and they imitate their actions. By calling us Shia, those who are not doing this or do not meet this criteria, it is just something by the lugha, by language, to associate them to Ahlul Bayt. But the real meaning of Shia is something much deeper than just the name. He says Imam Ali alayhi salam was departing from the masjid. The surroundings were bright due to moonlight. He saw behind him a group of people walking towards him, and he asked who those people were. They said, "We are your Shias." And Imam Ali alayhi salam looked at their faces carefully, and he says, "Why is it that your face, it doesn't show any sign of you being a Shia?" So they said, "What are the signs of being Shia?" He says, "Their faces are pale due to excessive worship and fear of Allah. Their backs are bent due to prolonged prayers. Too much fasting causes their abdomen to touch their backbones. Their lips become dry by repeating endless invocations or dua, and their hearts are filled with fear of Allah." So we see here that if we look at society, how many people do we find like this? It's very rare that we find very pious people who have all of these characteristics. He says we have some narrations that the mere claim of being Shia is not enough. Jabir relates from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam that it is sufficient for one to associate. Is it sufficient for one to associate himself with Shia and say that I am a lover of Ahlul Bayt? By Allah, our Shia is not but the one who fears Allah and obeys his commands. So we see that two criteria for being considered as a Shia of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam is fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and obeying his commands. By fear of Allah is meaning that we are refraining from those things which would earn Allah's displeasure, and we are obeying his commands which are earning his pleasure. We are doing the good things, and we are refraining from muharramat, or forbidden things. The second narration, that narration is from Al-Kafi. Second narration, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he says, if you wish to see one of our Shia, then look for that person who abstains from sins and fears his creator and remains hopeful of his reward. Whenever you find such an individual, then take it for granted that he is one of my followers. So we see here similar narration, and that the person fears Allah and refrains from sins. Person walked in the presence of Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, and Imam says, that person is not from us, nor do we hold him in esteem. The one, if he lives in a town of a population of 100,000, and there is even one non-Shia who is more pious than him. So we see that if we have 100,000 people in our town, even if one person that is non-Shia, if they are more pious than we are, then we are not from those Shia of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. And we have to take a look. Sometimes we can look at even people from other faiths, non-Muslims even, and a lot of them have very good character. They're very good people. And then sometimes we can look at some people in our own communities who are, if you had to put them side by side, you would say, wow, this other person who is a non-Muslim is acting much better than the person who is Muslim, unfortunately. And this is not the fault of Islam, it's the fault of the people. If a person, they have the tools that they need, but they don't use them. So we have the best tool and the best example with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but we have to strive our best to follow him. And one way to be a good Shia is to try to emulate those people who Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam have praised. As I mentioned, Salman, Kambar, Matham Tamar, all of these. Take a life at look at the life of the companions of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, for example. So the author, he says, thus the belief, actions, and the piety of the Shias of Ahlul Bayt should be such that they should be the best and none should excel them. We shouldn't have people come and say, oh, these other group of people, they are much better than you. They do X, Y, Z, and we should be the leaders. We should be in the forefront for goodness in our communities, for doing good. It said Allah has called such people khayru bariya. In the Holy Quran, we see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, Inna ladina amanu wa amalu salihati ula'ika humul khayru bariya. That's, as for those who believe and do good, surely they are the best of men. And when Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi was asked to explain this word khayrul bariya, he said, Ya Ali, khayrul bariya means you and your Shia. On the day of judgment, they will be satisfied with what Allah has bestowed upon them, and they shall be liked by Allah. So we see here that this narration is narrated by a lot of Sunni scholars as well. This is not just a particular Shia narration, but is mentioned by Khawarizmi, Ibn Hajar, Tafsir Tabarsi, for example, the three prominent, we have these Sunni scholars. So we see that the Shia of Imam Ali alayhi salam is what Allah has referred to in the Holy Quran as being the best of creation. Then he comes to the section about walayat. There is not an iota of doubt that the one who possesses the walayat of Ahlul Bayt would be deserving of salvation. In fact, he shall be with the prophets, the pure imams, as Imam Rida alayhi salam has said, Allah shall collect our Shia on the day of judgment in such a condition that their faces will be glowing with radiance. His arguments would be lighted, manifest, and his proof shall be obvious before Allah. It is upon Allah to collect our Shias with the prophets, the martyrs, the truthful ones on the day of judgment. These personalities are the best of the loyalists. So what is walayat? Walayat, we see in Majmu'ul Bahrain, the meaning of walayat is love of Ahlul Bayt alayhimu salam. The natural consequence of this love is to follow them. When we love someone, we should follow them and strive to earn their pleasure, to fulfill the obligations laid down on us and abstain from things prohibited. Walaya is to walk in the footsteps of Ahlul Bayt, following their ways, deeds, behavior, manner, and speech. He says, Walayat therefore means love and obedience. This idea is supported by a tradition from Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salam, wherein the Imam has related love with obedience. Love is something more than just something that rolls off the tongue easy. We say that we love someone, that we shouldn't upset that person. We should respect them. We should honor them. We should treat them good. Imagine if we had someone who we say we loved, such as a spouse, for example. We say that we love our spouse and we say, oh, I love you, but we never do anything for them. We never do anything nice for them. We never show our love to them. It's just something, just mere speech, just something that we say, but it doesn't have any meaning without any action. For example, we say we believe, but we don't do anything. We don't pray, we don't fast, we don't read Quran, we don't do anything in regards to religion at all. We are irreligious in our practice, but we say, oh, I believe. Belief requires action, same as love. Love requires action. If we say we love someone and treat them bad, what kind of love is that? Do we really love the person? No, we love the person. We want to be close to the person. We miss them when we are absent from them. Hence, we should miss our Imam of our time, Imam Zaman, Ajallah Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. And we should feel pain and separation from that person that we love. But we have to build this love, and we have to honor this love that we have for the people that we love. So love comes with obedience, as Imam has said. We have a tradition about it's from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, also from Imam Rida alayhi salam. It says, the walayat of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam is my fort, then the one who enters my fort is safe from my wrath. So we see that entering the walayat of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, taking refuge with Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, is to abstain from all unlawful acts and to remain away from their enemies, is what the author is saying. The word tahassum denotes taking refuge in an established fort. It also suggests that the refuge is not only physical in nature, but of a moral form and spirit as well. It is therefore imperative to take refuge with these exalted personalities and to follow their superior examples in all aspects of speech and behavior. In short, one who follows them has actually taken refuge in their fort. So we should take refuge in the fort of walayat, the fort of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. And that is by following them in ways and actions, following their path. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent us those people to follow, the best examples. So why should we look elsewhere to follow someone else when Allah has given us the best thing? If we have the best thing, why should we want to exchange it for something less than the best? We have those examples, but all we have to do is to follow them, and we shouldn't abandon them. We shouldn't look elsewhere when we have the solution with Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. The first place we should go look is with Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. But unfortunately, some people say, oh, we shouldn't go to We have more modern things that we can go to, someone from our time, for example. But in reality, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent Ahlul Bayt for all of time, sent Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi for all of time. So we should go to them and derive our examples and our rulings from their teachings. And there are some things, for example, that we cannot find in that we would have to use other principles to establish the rules. And this is for our Maraja to establish. But the first thing they do is go to look into Quran and Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam and see what they have to say and derive the rulings from there. Only then, if there is nothing found, then we can apply other rulings from usulul fiqh, for example, and other things. We shouldn't go to see advice from, for example, movie star or basketball player or someone else, a musician or something like this, and abandon Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam when Allah has given them to us as best example. We see that Imam Rida alayhi salam, he says, he who antagonizes our Shia is antagonizing us, and whoever follows them is following us, because they are a part of us. They were created from the same clay which we were created. And this is an example of, in reference to what we were saying in the paragraph from the author, that taking refuge with Ahlul Bayt and about walayat is taking refuge with them and to abstain from the muharramat and to do the wajibat and to stay away from the enemies of Ahlul Bayt. So Imam Rida alayhi salam says, he who antagonizes our Shia is antagonizing us. Whoever follows them is following us. Because they are a part of us, they were created from the same clay which we were created. So Shias were created from the same clay that was left over from creation of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. We see that some people, they say, oh, I love Ali ibn Abi Talib, but then they hate Shias. They hate the followers of Imam Ali alayhi salam. So a lot of times people, it said the true Nasabi is not the one who comes and says that they hate Ahlul Bayt. A lot of people, they won't do that. Those people who do that, they are Nasabi. But a lot of people, they won't do that. But the Nasabi is also the one who antagonizes the Shia and hates the followers of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Imam Rida continues, he says, he who loves them is one of us, loves the Shia. Whoever hates them is not with us. Our Shia see through the light of Allah, move about in the mercy of Allah, and will win the dignity of Allah. We feel the same pains that any of our Shia feel during ailment. We become grieved whenever any of our Shia become grieved. We feel happy when any of our Shia feels happy. None of our Shia can be out of our support, whether he was in the east or the west of the earth. The debt that is left by any of our Shia is our responsibility, while the estate is his heirs. So we see here that our Imam is connected to us. We are connected to our Imam. They feel our pains. They feel our struggles. They make dua for us. We are connected to them, whether east or the west. He says, our Shia are those who offer the prayers, pay the zakat, perform the hajj to the holy house of Allah, fast during the month of Ramadan, and declare their loyalty to the Prophet's household, and declare their disavowal or their to be aloof from the enemies of the Prophet's household. Those are the people of faith, God-fearing, piety, and devoutness. He who rejects them is rejecting Allah, because they are true servants and the genuine disciples of Allah. By Allah, I swear each individual of them will be granted on the day of resurrection the right to intercede for people as many as the individuals of the tribes of Rabia and Madar, two big tribes, out of Allah's honor to them. This is narration is found in Sifat al-Shia by Sheikh al-Saduq. So we see a lot of beautiful explanation about what a Shia of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam is. The author, he says, the verbal claim unaccompanied by actions is insufficient. After describing the qualities of the Shias, Imam Bakr alayhi salam said, Ya Jabir, is it enough for one to say that I love Ali and I have achieved his walayat, whereas he does not act on it? We see this a lot. People say, oh, I'm a Shia of Ali, but they are doing all sort of haram, even openly. Or they're not praying, they're not fasting, they're drinking alcohol or doing other haram throughout the year, but they say, oh, I love Imam Ali. He says, if someone says, surely I love the Holy Prophet because he was superior to Ali and I am Shia of Muhammad, in spite of this claim, he does not follow Ahlul Bayt, whom the Holy Prophet has ordered to follow. It is surprising that even after claiming to love the Prophet, they do not follow his progeny. Mere claim of love is not sufficient. So just claiming to love Ahlul Bayt is not sufficient. This love of Ahlul Bayt should refrain us from doing things that would upset them. He says, Ya Jabir, the nearness of Allah is not achieved without his obedience. When our Shias do not have obedience and action to their credit, we have no authority to free them from the hellfire. Merely a verbal claim, I am Shia, is not sufficient argument for Allah. If Allah wills, he can involve him in punishment. Allah has not promised to bestow salvation upon the claimants of Shiism. The criteria are obedience and good actions. Then only one who obeys Allah is our lover, and the one who is a sinner is our enemy. And our walayat cannot be achieved but by piety and good deeds. So if we want to achieve and say that we have walayat, we have love of Ahlul Bayt, then we have to work on ourselves by refraining from the sins. We have to work on doing good deeds and good actions and strive our best in the cause of Allah to get closeness to our Imam. Now, that being said, the author, he brings different types of taqwa from, according to Allama Majlisi. He said there are 4 types of taqwa. The first type is to abstain from prohibited things, the haram. The second is to abstain from doubtful things so that one may not commit a haram act. He finds something and he says, I'm not sure, maybe this, he's not sure, he has a doubt whether this is haram or not. And he doesn't have the access to find that at that moment. So he abstains from that doubtful thing. He says, oh, I can do without it. I don't need it, so I will abstain from that. The third level, to abstain from permissible things so that one is absolutely protected from haram. As we have mentioned before, even for example, during the month of Ramadan, we are abstaining ourselves from permissible things, food and drink, for example, and we control our nafs in this month, and we are more aware of ourselves in this month because we are on guard and we are saying that we do not want to do anything to mess up our fasting in month of Ramadan. So we see here that these things make us even more alert to fast regularly or to control ourselves from even permissible things such as sweets. We say, oh, I want to control myself and not eat so many sweets, for example. It will help them in controlling themselves. This is something that is not wajib on them, but they want to do that even to control their self and moderate their self in lesser things that are not haram. That way, when the haram thing comes, it is easier for them to refrain because they are used to having self-control. The next level of taqwa, he says, to avoid everything that is not religious so that one may not waste precious time and useless acts. even though there may not be any risk of committing a sin. So it is not haram to enjoy ourselves. We can have fun. We can do different things. But some people, they want to spend their time in productive things and not waste their time. Maybe they see that watching this television show, for example, which is perfectly fine, is a waste of time for them, that they could spend that 30 minutes that they watch that television show into something else, for example, as writing a book or reading a book or listening to a majlis or something like this. Remember one of the great authors, he wrote 1,400 books. A big marja contemporary with Sayyid al-Qawi, Sayyid Muhammad al-Shirazi. I asked his son one time, I met his son in Karbala, how did your father write so many books? 1,400 books. I can't even imagine, like, it's very difficult to read 1,400 books, let alone write 1,400 books. It's something, even today's time, we don't find that many. Maybe some people that we see that have written 400, 500 books, but it's rare. Most people write a few, but 1,400 is a lot. And he told me that his father didn't waste time. He used all of his time and he didn't sleep much. He slept what was required for him, and that was it. And when he would take a drive from Najaf to Karbala, in the car, he would write a book, a small booklet or something, just between the 1 hour drive. He would spend his time writing. He wrote until there's famous picture where these two fingers are paralyzed and they are sticking out, and he's writing with his hand like this. So some people, they don't waste their time. They manage their time in a way and they accomplish a lot of things for the sake of Allah. If we think about what we do with our time and we try to manage our time, we'll see that when we account for the time that we use in the day, we waste a lot of time. We sleep really long, or whenever we have a free moment, we are on our phone. I remember this person in Iraq. He said the Sheikh came in and they asked him, "Oh, do you have a Wi-Fi? What's the Wi-Fi code?" He said, "Oh," he laughed. He said, a long time ago, when people used to come 10, 15 years ago, they said, "Which way is the Qibla?" So I want to do Salat. Which way is Qibla? But now they come and they just say, "What is the Wi-Fi code?" So we see that most of the time, when people have any free moment, they are on their phone. Check email, they check Instagram, they check Facebook, they check WhatsApp, they check Twitter, and then they loop back around again and start all over again. But if we have some useful thing that we can do, if we have, we can do Tasbiyatul Zahra, for example. We have our phone, which is fine. There's some good apps that we can have on our phone that have hadith, for example, or they have Mafatihul Janan, they have Najj Balaga, they have Sahifa Sajadiyya. They have these on our phones. When we have free moment, we could look at these type of things and use our time. But when we look at our time, we'll find that that we're wasting a lot of it. And I think that one of the key to our success is to managing our time, taking account of our time, looking at it, seeing where we are wasting our time and how to replace that wasteful time with more productive things, inshallah. So these were the types of taqwa according to Alama Majlisi. Then he says, the author says, according to traditions, both from Shia and Sunni sources, it is established that love protects one from being a servant of one's desires and shaitan. So when we love someone, as I said, we don't want to hurt that person with our bad behavior. We don't want to earn their disapproval. We experience, this relationship with our parents and family members. So we don't want to upset our parents. We don't want to do anything to bring shame to our parents because we love our parents. And a lot of times, the thought of their disapproval or their being, upset with us would be enough to refrain the person from doing something wrong. And we should experience this with more intensity when it comes down to the relationship with our imam and disappointing our imam. Imagine our imam on Day of Judgment says, I don't want anything to do with you, how you behaved and how you brought shame towards us. So we have to, have our love protect us from our lower desires. The author, he says, this is because the love of an exalted personality entails that we also love his friends and hate his enemies. The friendship of Shaitan and the following of one's evil desires are two of the biggest hurdles in one's love for Allah and the Ahlul Bayt. Inshallah, the followers of Ahlul Bayt, by the blessing of his love, will remain away from the path of Shaitan. Thus, love for Ahlul Bayt protects one from evil rather than make him susceptible to sins. In order to explain this idea, he brings some few narrations. We'll mention, we have just about 5 minutes, so we'll mention one of these and then we'll stop. Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salam, our fifth Imam, has said, whoever has been bestowed with the love of Ali alayhi salam in his heart by Allah is not prone to wavering from his path, but he becomes steadfast on the path of Allah and also towards other matters. So if we have this love of Imam Ali alayhi salam, and this love penetrates our heart like an arrow, this love should consume us, that we just want to, we are so in love with the personality of Imam Ali alayhi salam that we want to emulate him and follow him and learn all about his life. I remember when I was a youth, I used to read about Imam Ali alayhi salam when I was a teenager, and I would just be mesmerized by him, and I want to learn more about him. How did he live? How did he deal with people? What strong his faith was, how everything, I was like, this is the, a perfect human being, the best example that I could read about after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that I just wanted to, my love for Imam Ali wanted me to be closer to Imam Ali alayhi salam. And this is how we should be with our Imams alayhi salam. This love should just draw us closer to them and make us want to be, make them want to, accept us, that we are their Shias or their admirers, and that we just want to be close to them and vicinity of them. And inshallah, that they will be pleased with our actions and that we are working for their cause. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us good Shias of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam and Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, and that we can emulate them in our words, our actions, and our footsteps, follow their path, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Jazakallah.